It's Thursday of Holy Week. The time has begun for the Passover meal, and Jesus gathers with his disciples in the upper room, and he shares a meal with them that they had undoubtedly had many times before. And within the quiet confines of this upper room, the loudest message the world would ever know was shared. Love one another as I have loved you. Jesus shares the command to love as he has loved them, and here's what we know. Jesus has, up until this point, poured out his time, his resources. He's left his family and his home. He's asked hard questions and given hard answers. And in that, these disciples watched as many turned away from him because the way of Jesus just seemed too costly. But whether the crowds were many or they were few, Jesus was there, and Jesus was devoted. His love wasn't tied to what they did. Matthew could tell you that. Nobody else wanted anything to do with him. He was a tax collector and hated by those around him for his profession. His love wasn't tied to what they said. Peter could tell you that. He was often saying the wrong thing. Jesus' love for his followers wasn't dependent on what other people said about them. Mary, his mother, could tell you that, because people said a lot about her mysterious birth. Throughout her life, there were whispers and looks, and Jesus saw them look at her. He saw their demeanor change. But Jesus didn't just love them. He loved being with them, and they knew the significance of that kind of love. So when Jesus said to them, "Love as I have loved you," this is what they would have had pictured in their mind. This is what they knew so far of his love. Up until this time, Jesus had protected them. He said to the Father in his prayer in John 17, "I've protected the ones you gave me." But maybe they thought it was a physical protection and that was part of his love. But the reality is, a set-apart life isn't a life where we're promised physical protection. What Jesus was protecting, what he was after, was their heart. He was protecting their heart from the world. And Jesus wanted them to know the goal of a set-apart life, of a life like his. It isn't a promise that he would protect us from the world, but that he would protect our heart as we were sent into the world. And while his love will protect your heart, it might cost your body. But love as he loved. Go into the world anyways. See, the next day, they would know the full extent of his love. The reality is, a set-apart life is a life of love. If there were one thing Thursday of Holy Week could teach us, it is to wake up from our desire for safety and our focus on ourselves, that we might become the love of Jesus that unconditionally gives up everything for any and everyone.